If you think it's cool to physically bully people, dope. Finish the job. Hide the body, hope the police never find it. Because if you don't, they're coming for you.
If you think it's okay to bully people like that, well, you better finish the job. What if they come back later in life, a year later, 10 years later, plotting their revenge when you will least expect it? He could send him a text message, say, yo, watch your back. You don't know when it's coming, but it's coming. You won't know when it hits you. And it's not just you, it's your family. I don't care what you think. I don't care if you ever have kids, wife, family, friends, and so on. They're all gonna get it.
Coach Greg, in today's video, Mike Israetel speaks out against Mike Van Wyck. Now remember, in Mike Van Wyck's videos, he criticizes short, nerdy bodybuilders, of which Mike Israetel is that in spades. But remember, unlike Jeff Nippard, Mike Israetel is a trained jiu-jitsu fighter. He's also 237 pounds, unlike Jeff Nippard, who was 175. And so Mike gives his opinion on what he would do. And does it in fact involve a crowbar and him being beaten senselessly over and over and over again until he can never walk normally ever again? Well, stay tuned and find out. Never give Dr. Mike a crowbar. That's literally the only thing I took away from the video. We all have those fantasies. Me handing Dr. Mike a crowbar behind my back. Dr. Mike ain't hitting you anywhere higher than the ankles. Unless it's an imminent call to violence, it's unethical to assault someone for what they say. And so regardless of what Jeff Nippard or anyone says, it's never okay to resort to violence. You can fight words with words, but never resort to violence. Jeff is way smaller a guy, but way bigger a man. There's something poetic about bleeping Mike with Turk. And so if you watch this video, you'd heard him bleep out Mike's cursing, which is perhaps 30 or 40 times in this video, with the word Turk.
Also, I could give a
And so with that being said, consider getting actual Turkesterone, which is from Uzbekistan, and we have the third-party labs proving it. And if you don't believe it, if you think maybe it doesn't work, you can get your money back. And so code Greg, 15% off, click the link in the description. Craig Doucette rubbing his hands together, smiling harder than last time. Gregging my Doucette till I VO2 max.
Mike Van Wyck, the video where he talked about people who like suck at their sport but are short,
right? So that's
whatever. Like that actually applies much more to me than it does to Jeff.
And so Mike's saying, look, what Mike Van Wyck applies more to me than it does to Jeff. Jeff is a natty pro. I'm still an amateur, getting 6th place in my last competition because of my tan.
Maybe it's just historically inaccurate. I don't know if Mike Van Wyck has ever competed in bodybuilding.
And so remember, Mike isn't aware of Mike. He says, I don't even know if he's competed in bodybuilding. Mike Van Wyck is literally an IFBB pro. He placed 13th out of 15 as an IFBB pro, but perhaps he never had a proper tan when he set foot as an IFBB pro. As an amateur, clearly had the proper tan because he did in fact get 1st place.
What do I think about the situation? Let's have you do a set really quick and then I'll ramble.
And so what exactly does Mike think about all this? Remember, he has a very strong opinion.
Jeff is a pro. Like, he's just categorically out of your league to criticize about jackness.
And so this part, Mike Israetel did in fact get it wrong. He's saying Mike Van Wyck can't talk about this because he's categorically out of his league. That Jeff Nippard is a far better bodybuilder. Remember, Mike Van Wyck is an IFBB pro. And so he does in fact have the experience, the genetics and so on, as well as the abuse of performance-enhancing drugs. Now remember, Mike has stated in previous videos how performance-enhancing drugs can in fact alter your mind. It increases that dominance hierarchy, where a man feels he needs to have power over other men.
Like all I feel is rage.
Where you're the true alpha, and how dare you say anything against me? And so perhaps he felt that way with Jeff Nippard, who had the mic drop. He clearly showed him that he was wrong, and so Mike Van Wyck, that pissed him off to such an extent that he decided to attack him in the gym.
And it's dope to be like 6'5" and have big arms or whatever, but like, I don't know if that really like gives you a lot of leeway to criticize like legit competitive pros.
And so he's saying, you know, Mike Van Wyck can't criticize Jeff Nippard because he's not an IFBB pro, but he is.
If he had the brain power to, he would have delivered some sort of nuance, and then if that were the case, he would have actually been like, oh yeah, cool, Jeff, thanks for the response.
And so Zach is saying, look, if he had the brain power to actually make a response, he would have said something with substance. But what he said, it makes no sense. It's an ad hominem attack. You're simply saying, hey, you're not that jacked, you're not that big, you're not that cool. And so what you're saying that science is saying, it doesn't work, because look at you. Meanwhile, Jeff literally is a bodybuilding champion. He's a natural pro, a record holder in powerlifting. And so it's simply not true.
I can see his perspective. Science is nerds are being short is.
And so take a shot every time you hear the word Turk. Please don't. You will not be here for very long.
There are numerous retorts that people don't stoop down to, which I'll stoop down to now for the purposes of illustration.
And so Mike Israetel is saying, look, if you want me to resort to going down to your level, of which Jeff Nippard refused to do, he kept things on a scientific level, he wasn't going to insult him, I'll do it.
Let's train hard right now.
Let's
Thought about that.
You want to throat punch me or something?
I don't even know what he said. I mean, Mike Israetel is speaking at such a level, and the word Turk is coming in, and I'm like trying to fill in the blanks. I don't even know what he's saying. Turk, 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 Turk. I'm Turking my Doucette right now, and it came all over my GO2 Max.
I think a lot of people have a slightly outdated view of civility, and they think that, like, for some things that you say to another man, you should be, like, physically assaulted.
And Mike is 100% right, and I agree with him on this wholeheartedly. Whatever somebody says to you doesn't give you the right to physically attack them. A word for a word. It's not a word for a physical assault. Because what happens if you just say, yeah, I'm okay with that? That means that any time that somebody pisses you off, anyone says something that you don't like, you have the right to hurt them physically. Okay, let's support that case. Let's say that you're right. And so I walked up to you and say, you're an ugly person. I make fun of your tan. I make fun of your laugh. I make fun of your voice.
All right, guys, I'm here with Brad Doucette.
Okay, I've now made fun of you. Because of that, you then decide to do something to my throat. All right, let's assume that's okay. Say shit, get hit. You support that. Fine. You say something to somebody and they hit you. Hey, had it coming. Okay, now what? That person has now hit you. What can you now do back to them? Well, you certainly have to go up one level. And so if they hit you, what are you going to do to them? Is it now okay to get out your crowbar? Perhaps something where you can point at them and use your finger? Is that what we want? Because where does it end? If one person's attacked somebody, one does something worse, then worse, then worse, then worse, it never ends until it ends. Ends with somebody being 16 feet under, somewhere deep down the earth. They're no longer with us.
But unless it's an imminent call to violence, it's unethical to assault someone for what they say.
And so if we keep to those rules, we will be more civil. We won't be Neanderthals. We need to all get along. We need to abide by certain rules. And if the rules are broken by anyone just because somebody upset your feelings, oh my God, they said something to hurt me. Boo, boo-hoo. And you then start attacking people, well, where does it end? What if Jeff Nippard had something that can create a lot of damage in his pocket? I'm not talking about his downstairs. Something else made of metal. And he went and did that to him, and he then got up, took it out of his pocket and said, hey, it's self-defense. Boom. What then? Hey, he was assaulting him. Is it okay for Jeff Nippard to go to that level? Is it okay? Where does it end?
One is just vibes. Like, it's just not cool to hit people, which is dope. It's true. You just have to think through, what kind of world do I want to live in?
And so I'm not about that life. I know Mark Lobliner is not about that life. Mike Israetel is not about that life. Just because somebody insults you doesn't give you the right to physically attack them, because if you do say that's okay, do you really want to live in that world?
So let's say Mike Van Wyck assaulted Jeff, and Jeff was a different person. Maybe he was a Mike Van Wyck kind of person, maybe worse. And then he let it cool off.
And so consider this, Jeff says nothing. He sits there and he takes it, smiles about the whole thing. But Jeff is the kind of person that gets his revenge later. He plots it out. Plans for it.
Then, they're like, Mike's walking out of the gym or something, and Jeff's standing there, and Mike's like, dude, what's up? He comes in to pound it. Jeff has a crowbar, and he just hits Mike Van Wyck in the knees.
And so one day, Jeff was waiting for him outside of the gym, and when he walks by, he then attacks his ankles because he tries to reach the knees, but he's way too tall. Remember, Jeff is a manlet, a hobbit, if you will, and so he's attacking his ankles, chops them, over and over again. And so he'll never be able to walk straight again. Was that okay? I mean, Mike started it. He attacked him for no reason. And so should Jeff not be allowed to then get his revenge? I'm asking you, write in the comment section. Would it be okay for Jeff to attack him later? Hey, he attacked him first. Jeff is too small a person. He can't attack him right then. But 2 weeks later, he can with the proper thing in his hands.
So that Mike never walks properly ever again in his life. And you would say, holy shit, that's up. Is it any more up than taking the first strike?
Would that be messed up? If Jeff had done this, he was assaulted. Let's say he got really hurt. Let's say he hit him in the face. Perhaps hit him in the nose. It was broken. Perhaps he lost a tooth. And Jeff said nothing. Let's say that was what happened. That was what transpired. Or perhaps Jeff was a hit, he fell backwards and he banged his head on the floor or on some metal equipment. And he was perhaps unconscious for a little bit of time. And 2 weeks later, he did that. Would that be okay? Would you say, hey, he had it coming? Where do we draw the line? You're thinking, well, it's not fair. He used a crowbar. Well, what is Jeff to do? He's not as big. And so what's fair then? Anyone that's bigger than you just gets to do whatever they want to you and you can't get after them no matter what? And so really think about that.
I'm the opposite of endorsing that. I'm Russian. That comes naturally to me. Russia's a bad place because there's lots of people like me in it with no civility.
And so Mike Israetel is saying, look, I'm from Russia. They endorse this. They condone this. Many people think this is okay. And so if you're going to do something to someone, you better finish it off. Because what if they come back stronger, meaner, more vengeful than ever before? He's saying, I ain't about that life. I don't support this.
And so if you think it's cool to physically bully people, dope. Finish the job. Just kill them. Kill them, hide the body, hope the police never find them. Because if you don't kill them, they're coming for you.
And so Mike's saying, look, if you believe that, if you think it's okay to bully people like that, well, you better finish the job.
What if they come back later in life, a year later, 10 years later, plotting their revenge when you will least expect it? He could send him a text message, say, yo, watch your back. You don't know when it's coming, but it's coming. You won't know when it hits you. And it's not just you, it's your family. I don't care what you think. I don't care if you ever have kids, wife, family, friends, and so on. They're all gonna get it.
Imagine if we had people like that. Do we want people to live this life? I certainly hope we do not. And so never escalate words with violence, because you don't know what that escalated violence can actually lead to.
And you don't want to find out.
Well, why don't you delineate for me what's cool and what's not cool in bro code? And when you finish that delineation post, you walk out of your house, I'm gonna catch you there with a crowbar again. Then you can try say, well, no, hold on, I'm still debating. I'm done debating.
And so Mike is saying, what do you think is gonna happen? You just explain to somebody, hey, no, it's not cool. There's bro code. You can't resort to that kind of violence. There's a limit here. Saying, no, I don't care. That's your code.
In many animals, they're not trying to kill or maim. They're trying to discover who's dominant. Problem is humans just don't do that anymore with physical violence, because humans discovered that if you try to assert dominance, someone can always up the ante and go further.
And so that's exactly it. You can always up the ante. No matter what somebody does to you, somebody can do something worse until it ends and you're under the ground.
And so as civilized humans, we no longer physically hurt each other unless we're imminently threatened. And if you don't buy into that, I'll see you in the street.
And so this is why, in my opinion, when people start resorting to violence, these people, they don't belong on the streets. They don't belong in our gyms. They don't belong with other people. They're too dangerous. And so unless it's time to be able to reform, they need to be away from other people. And so people who are innocent, who don't want this common violence, they shouldn't have to put up with it. You shouldn't have to go to the gym and be scared of what this guy can do. And so if he's proven himself to not be safe, to not be able to hold himself back, he shouldn't be allowed to go there. People who are not safe and are an imminent threat to other people's safety should not be allowed and around other people. And so if you condone what Mike did, you're not the kind of person that I want to be around. If you go and attack other people for something that they said, for a disagreement, you don't agree on the proper way to train for optimal hypertrophy, you can't be going to the gym. You shouldn't be allowed out of the house. You should be going to anger management therapy. You should be on house arrest, probation, and so on, where you can be kept in check until the point of which it is deemed that you are a safe person in society. Until that point, you shouldn't be allowed out. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm, like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops, and of course the cookbooks, the training books, the Circle Diet book, the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. And if you're looking for a coach, of course you can hire Coach Greg as well as my team. And if you have no money, you get the free diet and training program. And don't forget, I've partnered with Transcend, and so if you're looking for getting proper blood work and so on, you're looking for HRT, peptides, you're of legal age, and you want to do things with the advice and consent from your doctor safely, click the link in the description. And until next time, I am out.